What's up, Summoners? Welcome back to another ProGuides video. My name is Nathan Ng, and today we're going to be covering the patch 10.6 Sleeper OP builds. Make sure you use these to dominate the Rift, and if you try them out with your friends, you could say that these builds are your idea, but I wouldn't lie if they watch ProGuides. Anyway, before we get started, let's go ahead and tackle that question of the day. What are your goals at the end of the season? For me personally, I would love to find a duo partner for life, if you know what I mean. Anyway, leave your answer in the comment section down below and let's hop right into the video. For our very first build, we've got another melee champion taking advantage of the buffs to Blade of the Ruined King. KLED is going to be joining the lineup, and it makes sense too. His W provides him with an immense burst of attack speed, meaning that he can activate the item's passive multiple times within a short frame of time. On top of this, KLED's high kill pressure benefits heavily from movement speed that he's able to nab from his opponents. This can even be helpful when KLED is dismounted. Sometimes KLED needs to desperately stay within attack range of his opponent so that he's able to get that last bit of courage to remount. And just like KLED, maybe we can all use a little bit of courage. But unlike KLED, we don't have Blade of the Ruined King, because that active can help him catch up to his foes and smack them a couple more times. Overall, it's a pretty versatile addition to KLED's already aggressive kit. For runes, take Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Last Stand, Demolish, and Bone Plating. For his items, buy Blade of the Ruined King, Ninja Tabby, Black Cleaver, Titanic Hydra, Sterak's Gauge, and Guardian's Angel. You can rush Blade if you're able to do so without putting yourself in danger. The sustain from an early Vamp Scepter is definitely very nice. Otherwise, build it after you finish a Black Cleaver. Next up, players are taking SEJUANI back to the top lane. Personally for me, she's a little bit boring, like the pig. Anyway, she's a great frontliner and also opens up some extra jungle diversity. On top of this, the strength that she provides during draft picks is immense because she usually fools opponents into thinking that she's going to hop into the jungle. In other situations, junglers might find themselves in rough matchups and would prefer to trade SEJUANI to their top laner and counterpick their opponents. Nevertheless, SEJUANI is going to see top lane play, and that's the bottom line here. She deals a decent amount of damage and has some of the best hard engage in the game. For her runes, run Grasp, Demolish, Bone Plating, Unflinching, Biscuit Delivery, and Time Warp Tonic. You'll usually start with a Corrupting Potion for the mana and trading power it provides. This will allow you to make use of Time Warp Tonic as well. If you prefer to take Doran's Shield in certain matchups, swap out Time Warp Tonic for either Perfect Timing, Magical Footwear, or Cosmic Insight. For items, build Ninja Tabby, Sunfire Cape, Iceborne Gauntlet, Abyssal Mask, Warmogs, and Gargoyle Stoneplate. The combination of Iceborne Gauntlet, Abyssal Mask, and Warmogs armor provides 40% cooldown reduction, which is going to allow you to use your ultimate much more often and also have better team fights. Our next build is one on Jax. Players are stacking Black Cleaver on top of Trinity Force on him as well. If you watch our other videos, you'll know that this build is used on a similar champion, SHURELIA. The advantage you gain from building these two items together is that you quickly hit 40% CDR as well as receive a variety of useful stat bonuses. Since Conqueror no longer provides true damage, the armor shred is also very valuable against tankier champions. 40% CDR on Jax is ridiculously powerful, by the way. It'll allow him to chase opponents down, use his W more often, also have his Counter-Strike off cooldown much more quickly. In every single way, this makes Jax a more oppressive pick than he otherwise would be. For runes, take Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Alacrity, Coup de Grace, Biscuit Delivery, and Time Warp Tonic. For items, you want to get Trinity Force, Black Cleaver, Ninja Tabby, Blade of the Ruined King, Death's Dance, and a Guardian's Angel. Death's Dance should come after the former three items because most games won't get to the point where you'll end up with 4 completed items. The big spike is having Trinity Force and Black Cleaver together, and most of the time, games will end shortly after. The cooldown reduction from Death's Dance ends up adding on top of the already existing 40%, meaning that it won't do anything. However, it's still a valuable item because it provides extra tankiness, teamfight presence, and 1v1 power. Alright, that's it for our top lane picks. Here's a recap of those builds on the screen for you guys, and save them or pause the video if you want to check them out one more time. Now, let's head down to the jungle. Now, a bunch of new junglers have joined the pool, and Brand is starting to slowly pick things up. He's still not doing too hot. In fact, he's still far from a fire pick at the moment. However, this is largely due to the fact that he's new to the jungle and players are still trying to figure him out. Brand has a great jungle clear, provides insane damage, and has decent crowd control. As players put in more time and take him more seriously, his win rate is bound to improve. For runes, take Dark Harvest, Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Nimbus Cloak, and Water Walking. Dark Harvest on Brand jungle is disgustingly strong. You won't need Comet since you don't have a lane opponent to poke down, so go for the more reliable damage with Dark Harvest, as your passive is capable of activating this keystone. Cheap Shot synergizes with Brand's stun, and Ravenous Hunter helps Brand stay a little bit healthier during his clears and teamfights as well. For his items, build Runic Geckos, Sorcerer Shoes, Leandries, Rallies, Rabadon's Death Cap, and a Void Staff. Next up is Death Stance Lee Sin. As a tankier bruiser champion, it only makes sense that players have finally started picking up this item on him. Dignitas's Grig has been building his item pretty recently as well, showing that it's pretty highly valued by high elo players as well. For runes, take Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Last Stand, Magical Footwear, and Cosmic Insight. For items, build Warrior, Ninja Tabby, Black Cleaver, Death Stance, Steric's Gauge, and Lord Dominic's Regards. When necessary, you want to build an early Executioners. Since you already have a Black Cleaver, an early Last Whisper isn't required. With Conqueror, Death Stance, and Lee Sin's built-in sustain from his W, this build allows Lee Sin to stay in fights much longer. Once he dives in, especially if he's against an isolated target, it's going to be much harder for his opponents to take him out. At times when Lee Sin barely manages to escape, he's also able to self-cast a shield to survive the last bits of bleed damage from Death Stance. Since his other items provide a ton of health anyway, the resistances from Death Stance help round out his build as well. Our next jungle build is a very similar one actually with Graves. He too is also taking advantage of Death Stance, but in conjunction with another rune, Conditioning. Conditioning provides some extra resists, and when stacked with Death Stance, makes for a beefy marksman. If you forgot about Graves' E, well, then you goofed. This build makes Graves incredibly tanky at the cost of losing no damage. He's able to build a ton of damage items and hard carry fights while also being practically unkillable. For runes, run Conqueror, Triumph, Alacrity, Coup de Grace, Conditioning, and Revitalize. For items, take Warrior, Ninja Tabby, Death Stance, Phantom Dancer, Infinity Edge, and Black Cleaver. With Conqueror stacked and Death Stance built, a single crit item can provide Graves with an immense amount of healing. He's able to jump into the fray and continue to stay alive as long as he's able to deal damage throughout the fight. This also means that it's incredibly hard to beat him in 1v1s. Divers that are trying to one-shot Graves are going to be like me when I realize that my birthday is during this lockdown and I can't celebrate it. Not happy when they realize that they can't one-shot him and that he is too tanky and he'll heal back practically all the damage dealt to him. Check out those builds one more time on the screen. While we normally would head to the mid lane, there haven't been too many builds worth discussing this patch, so we're going to skip right into the bottom lane. With buffs to Kai'Sa on patch 10.5, itemization has opened up quite a bit. Right now, a lot of players such as Sneaky and Griffin's Viper, just differentiating him from NA's Viper guys, have been using this build here and there. The runes are quite standard, so let's start off by talking about the items. You'll build Muramana, Berserker Greaves, Luden's Echo or Essence Reaver, Nashor's Tooth, Ginsu's Rageblade, and Morel Anomicon. Overall, the whole point of this build is to rush 40% CDR. With the changes to Kai'Sa's W, it's extremely rewarding to spam it off cooldown. Also, these items will still allow her to obtain all of her upgrades. The Luden's Echo variant from this build is much more popular, but if your team needs more physical damage, you can opt out for Essence Reaver and change items out here and there as needed. By combining a 20% CDR Nashor's Tooth with another reduction item, you're able to max out your cooldown reduction very early on into the game. For runes, you want to run Press the Attack or Fleet Footwork, Triumph, Legend Bloodline, Cut Down, Gathering Storm, and finally a Nimbus Cloak. While we didn't have any mid lane builds, we do have a mid lane champion in the bottom lane. ANIVIA is also seeing more play in the bot lane. Definitely doesn't hurt to have some more variety and also open up some more AP bot laners, though I'm not extremely happy about this one. ANIVIA scales pretty well too, so she fits in the bot lane archetype pretty well. Overall, there aren't very many differences from mid ANIVIA, but it's worth noting that you should consider running attack speed instead of adaptive force as your offensive rune. The bonus attack speed will make last hitting easier and will allow ANIVIA to contest early pushes much better. She ends up with plenty of AP into the later game anyway, so it's more important to manage waves and pick up early farm. For runes, run Electrocute, Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, Relentless Hunter, Presence of Mind, and Legend Tenacity. For items, build Rod of Ages, Mercury Treads, Leandri's Torment, Zanya's Hourglass, Void Staff, and Rabadon's Death Cap. Alright, that covers our bot lane, so let's wrap it all up with supports. However, before we do that, we're going to throw these builds on the screen one more time for you guys. Time for a Chad support pick with Alistar. Some pros are really milking a more aggressive approach with Alistar, building Shurelias as well as Righteous Glory on him, though you can't milk those. This build is much more focused on hard engaging and high tempo gameplay. Overall, you're able to easily engage onto the enemy team during mid to late game. Sometimes it can be pretty difficult to get in, especially when your flash is off cooldown with Alistar. However, this build provides all the tools necessary to get around this. For items, build Bulwark of the Mountain, Boots of Swiftness, Righteous Glory, Shurelia's Reverie, Knight's Vow, and Gargoyle's Stoneplate. For the runes, you'll want to run Aftershock, Demolish, Bone Plating, Unflinching, Hextech, Flash Traption, and a Minion Dematerializer. While Font of Life is still a solid choice on Alistar, this build is more focused around aggression at all stages of the game. After a successful roam or takedown, you want to make sure that you have demolished so you can pick up even more gold from turret plates and also accelerate the games. Hex-like flash traption also ensures that you'll be able to catch your opponents by surprise, even when flash is on cooldown. The final support build that we want to tell you guys about is SETT support. He's really starting to gain traction and has over 10,000 games played this patch. Though sure, it's not a huge amount of games, but it's enough to make him worth mentioning, since he's usually seen as a top or a jungler. SETT's high damage output, tankiness, and crowd control makes him a pretty decent support when played against other melee champions. As a support, he'll still have to sacrifice some damage, but he'll still do quite a lot of it, especially considering the fact that he's a support. For runes, take Aftershock, Shield Bash, Second Wind, Overgrowth, Triumph, and Legend Tenacity. Aftershock minimizes the damage SETT takes during trades, so make sure that you're playing around this cooldown. Use Aftershock to eat some initial damage, and end trades with this W for extra shield and burst it provides. For items, build Pauldrons of White Rock, Ninja Tabby, Deadman's Plate, Gargoyle Stone Plate, Knight's Vow, and Locket of the Iron Solari. One more time for you guys, we're going to be posting those builds on the screen one more time. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to see more content such as this one. If you want to climb the ladder this season, check out ProGuides.com to get yourself a Challenger coach today. Also, make sure you check out our live stream if you want to get more connected to the ProGuides community. Now with that all being said, I'll see you guys on the Rift and in the comment section down below.